I'd rather go down the path in meditation of not trying to do anything particularly.
Well, yeah, there is those other Zen schools, sort of more westernised, I would say, Zen schools that are not doing nothing kind of approach, you know, an emptiness kind of approach.
Yeah, like you're not actually trying to control your breathing. You're not trying to sit bolt upright. It's more kind of just letting everything naturally still itself seems to work better for me, rather than trying to force it. Because that just puts me on edge and I'm even less likely to get there, personally. I'd rather take the approach of observing the breath, not controlling it.
Well, this is another way you can do it. I mean, Zen's a broad topic.
Is that still Zen, though?
It is apparently still Zen, yeah. But it's not really Japanese
Because
Zen.
I seem to have a very warped sense of what Zen actually is in my mind.
It's sort of a Western kind of Zen, that.
Is
like,
it?
and the Japanese Zen, you know, is like very controlled. But
which only the Japanese can do. Really.
I mean,
no, that's a bit of a stereotype. I'm sorry for that.
I mean, I would say the difference really is between the two is that in one case you are doing a physical meditation in the sense that you're controlling your breath, you're controlling your posture, and this is like yoga. It's a physical meditation. It might not look much, yeah. It doesn't look as impressive
doing
as
it in yoga, doing that in a yoga sense makes more sense to me.
Well, let's not forget that meditation probably comes from yoga.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, no, I'd probably say that meditation must have come first, surely, because all it really is introspection.
Well, it depends how you define meditation, but in the sense that it's something that you do, I think, you know, seated meditation, I don't know. Look, anyway, my point is the possibility that strain of meditation that's come through to Zen actually originated from yoga in the first place.
But I would say that meditation itself was there first.
Well, yeah, of course, thinking came first, you know.
Thinking, meditation, introspection.
Being came before.
Sitting and thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like being is the first thing to have come anywhere. From our perspective, of course. Yeah. I was just meant in historical sense. But anyway, yes, so that's a physical meditation, sitting and breathing. And it doesn't look much, and it doesn't, but that is physical. But then what you're talking about is like a kind of relaxation, not trying kind of approach.
I find it a lot less stressful just to say, okay, this stuff is in there, I'm just going to let it go through. I'm not going to hold on to it.
Well, this is a different type of,
It's almost like, I guess, from my very limited knowledge, it's a bit along the lines of something called transcendental meditation, I guess. Whereas you just observe, just sit and watch.
TM's got, like, mantras.
Yes, I know.
So
it's not entirely like TM. It, but yes, it is kind of an observational.
Well, this is more like, you know, depending on what you're observing, really. I would say if you're kind of inward, then it's kind of, I would say, more of a Buddhist, not Zen, but sort of main pre-Zen.
Mahayana.
Well, no, Mahayana is, Zen's part of Mahayana, but just sort of non-Japanese, I suppose, non-Japanese meditation. But it's very difficult to categorise, but what I'm saying is, like, it's not physical. Like, your focus is inward, I guess, on what's going through your mind rather than on your body.
No, sometimes it is on the body with regard to the atmospherics around the body at the time of meditation. That's definitely been focused on before now.
The atmospherics? Like
if you feel a draft or there's a noise.
The noise is through your ears.
Yeah.
But I can understand draft.
Yeah.
Because you feel it on your skin.
Well, it's also a sense organ, the skin, I mean.
That's what I'm saying. You feel it on your skin.
Yeah, but you hear it in your ears.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Well, we're on to a new subject now. Should we go on to that subject? Synesthesia, the ability to distinguish between sensations from different parts of the body and anatomy. Yeah.
I don't really understand what that's got to do with anything.
Well, you said, what's the difference? The difference is...
Yeah, it's still a sense. It's still a sensation, isn't it?
Well,
whether it's a feeling on the skin or an audio, a sound that you've heard through your ears, it's the same thing. It's one of your senses.
Yeah, but you distinguish between your senses. And skin fever...
I didn't say you wouldn't.
Right, okay. So what these things come from is your environment. So you could say that's an environment meditation.
Yeah. But I don't sort of categorise my meditation. I don't sit there and go, right, tonight I'm going to focus on environment. Tonight I'm going to focus on...
If you're not focusing on anything, then that's the type of meditation where you're not focusing on anything.
Yeah. Well, that's just my natural, by default way of doing things. And then it's like, from there, it's whatever, comes through to me, really. It's a fluid...
Habitual consciousness will appear if you don't try and focus it in any way. It'll just be what you would normally focus on.
It's not, though. It's not, though. From my limited experience, it definitely isn't.
What do you mean it's not?
It really isn't. Some very strange things have come up that I wouldn't habitually think about.
Well, apparently you do, because you're not trying to make them think about it. That's what habit means. It means if you're not trying, it's what happens. That's kind of what habit is, isn't it? So if you're thinking weird shit and you're not trying to think about weird shit, then that's just the way your brain works. That's a habit of your brain to think about weird shit.
But what else is there?
I don't know. There's loads. I don't know.
See, what M does is categorise everything down to the bare bones, and I've never really understood it completely. I've got to be honest. Why you'd need to do that, index it in a certain way.
I'm not saying that you should.
Tonight I'm going to do this meditation.
Well, yeah. It's like
I've never really got it. Tonight, Matthew, I'm going to be...
Well, it's very simple. The way I view meditation is like a form of exercise. It's development. So therefore...
Yeah, but we're not different in that respect.
Yeah, well...
That's exactly how I see it too.
In exercising, one tends to focus on different muscle groups for different exercises.
Yeah.
Therefore, I would tend to use different meditations just to develop different facets of my overall personality. So, but if I don't place any direction on it, what I tend to do is go into, what would be normal for them. Perhaps I'm not aware of what normal is for me, but it is just allowing my brain to flow. So it's not like, that is why I categorise them. But I'm not saying that you can't do what you're doing. I'm just saying that's a category in and of itself. Trying to not try is
I'm
also
not trying
a category.
not to try.
Oh, right. Well, what do you do then?
I just let it flow.
Exactly. Well, that's trying to not try.
No, it's not. Because I have no natural inclination to try when it comes to that. It doesn't actually make any sense to me to try to do anything in meditation. Not like inward, introspective meditation. In yoga, that I can see what the point of that is. Mm-hmm. I can understand it a bit more. It's kind of there in your face. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know. So I'm not trying at all to do anything. That's my point.
So when you sit down and you start to meditate, what distinguishes that from you sitting down and not trying to meditate or doing something else or just sitting down? What is the difference?
Well, for one, I don't think there's any other time in my life when I would just kind of sit down and not focus my attention on anything. So I've come to the conclusion that that's what differentiates meditation, is the fact that I'm not focusing on anything.
All right, so this category then is you sitting down and not focusing on something.
Yeah, it's like I'm giving my brain a rest, in fact.
I call that lembe fei.
As you do. Let's just put that in there.
And I'm just illustrating because I have a category for this.
We work so completely differently. I don't know how we're married. Right.
Yeah, so just go with the flow, basically. That's what that means to me. But the fact is that you are sitting down to do that, then you've started yourself on this journey of meditation, you've done something different, and so you might say you're not doing anything. You might not be doing.
But that's it. That's the whole sum total of my trying to do anything. Is that I just sit there and not do anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going. What have I got for dinner?
Yes.
What's on YouTube at the moment?
Yes.
Blah 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 blah. Shall I make that phone call to Mum? I'm not thinking about the girls. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking. I'm not focusing.
Yeah.
That's the differentiation.
Exactly.
It feels like a relief to me to do meditation.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it hard work.
No, well...
Like, what the hell?
The only time when you... Look,
that's why I'm not keen on Zen. That frightens me.
The nice element to Lembe Fei, i.e. go with the flow, i.e. not trying, i.e. what you're doing, is that you get to see part of you, part of yourself, which normally doesn't come up because you're always trying to do things.
Yeah.
So it doesn't appear. It's like, it's a form of listening, I would say.
Yeah, it's observation, of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And you get to see all sorts of things which you should know, really, but you don't because you don't, perhaps, spend enough time listening to yourself.
No, exactly, which is where the shadow aspect comes into it, I think. That's why that makes a lot of sense to me.
And this relates to divination in the sense that you are discovering things that it's an exploration. You're discovering things. You're seeing things that you didn't see before, and it's an investigation, and it's nice that way. But then the other side of the coin, where you're actually directing your focus and you're controlling, is useful in the sense that you can develop abilities that are not highly developed within yourself. So I want to get better at doing something. I'm going to need to exercise focus and will and control, basically. So that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, but to me, the way you get better at doing something is if you actually do it.
Yes.
And you practice at it.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do it. But in order to do it, you need focus, and sort of that's the other side of the coin, that focus.
Yeah, but to me, that's not meditation.
Well, that's just, what you label meditation and what is.
Sorry
is
if I'm getting this all wrong. Yeah, of course it is. It very much is a very personal thing, I think.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you're sitting there breathing right, then that is very focused and very controlled. And if you're doing a yoga posture, well, that's very focused and very controlled. And these people are doing it to develop that skill of physical self-control.
Of standing on their head.
Yeah. And there's a spirituality there too.
Yeah, I get that. I get that especially in yoga and practices of that nature. Yeah.
And there are ways of combining these two together at the same time, or together complementary but not at the same time. So, for example, an artistic approach might be that you allow yourself to go with the flow, but then when you find something that you find interesting, you fix it in your mind.
Yeah.
And then you perhaps, I don't know, do a poem about it or a drawing about it, or use it as a form of inspiration.
Yeah, yeah.
And then let it go again.
Yeah, that's basically how I handle life, though, to be fair. That tends to be how I do things anyway.
Yeah, and then there's the way you can combine them together at the same time.
Yeah.
Where you go with the flow, but don't go with it so fast that you sort of feel like you're out of control. You go with it in a controlled way. And this is where everything becomes very flowing and deliberate, and it's a bit like Tai Chi, perhaps, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's a skill too. And it's like when I talk like that. And Terence McKenna talks like that.
Very monotone.
It's continuous, and everything he says, he extends all his words so long that it gives him enough time to think about what he's going to say next without leaving any spaces in between.
So as to sound very eloquent.
And no one else can butt into what he's saying, so he can have the conversation.
I'm not dissing Terence McKenna, by the way. I'm a fan.
No, I like Terence McKenna.
Yeah.
But, just wouldn't shut up.
Well, no, but that can be said for a lot of these, out there kind of people.
So, yeah.
Alan Watts is another one.
what you designate meditation is where you are in terms of your development.
Yeah, I guess so. But would you consider yourself to be more highly developed than me then?
Because I like to stand back and ask myself what the big picture and the overall picture of it is. I think that helps me to grasp the whole of meditation, which is something that I really wanted to be able to do. I really want to be able to understand all meditation. But I don't necessarily think that means that I'm more developed in any one area. In fact, I know there are areas that I need to work on more than others. But what I do is I use...
Maybe we shouldn't turn it into a competition because it is a very personal journey.
Well, yeah. As I say, it's not a competition.
No. He does say that quite often as well, and it's annoying. To the point of annoyance.
But yeah, no, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, I use an oracle to determine what I'm going to do randomly next.
I should use my intuition cards because I think they would work really well for that.